Noel has they, them, and also he, him pronouns. Noel, what's going on?
Hi. Okay. So, hi.
Hi.
I just figured this would be the perfect show to call because you're both. I hate to use the word expert because
not me.
Sometimes it's negative connotations. Like people are like, "Oh, you can't trust experts anymore," but you're both very knowledgeable. Dan in like, I don't know, weird conspiracy theories.
Yes.
Bullshit detective.
I read too many internet forums and books about dumb stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so a little tiny. I'm gonna try to be super brief because you're like trying to end the show. But so my like life goal is to start a trans like nonprofit.
Hell yeah.
Specifically for like, especially like underprivileged minority like trans youth. Because there are like adult like gay bars and clubs and everything. I want like a cafe, you know?
Sure. Yeah, some kind of youth cafe.
Besides that,
Yeah, I mean, youth cafes are an effective modality. I mean, there is an organization, just based on that brief description you gave us, is an organization who does work very much like that here in Austin. I know the audience is everywhere, but I'll go ahead and shout out Youth, just because they're a great group.
Oh, I've heard of them.
Cool. Yeah, so you're looking to put something like this together.
And we have the Dolores Project, things like that, that kind of like sometimes geared towards Urban Peak specifically does. The Dolores Project sometimes does. But anyway, so with that in mind, my grandparents are like super fundy. My granddad loves to call himself a skeptic, even though he's not. He's only a skeptic and things he wants to be a skeptic about, like trans and gay.
Right, a skeptic about the things he doesn't understand or like.
Yeah, if he is skeptical of the science on being trans, he doesn't understand how to read science.
Oh God, yes, he's skeptical on evolution too, but that's a whole nother thing.
Oh man,
but he's also really smart. He knows so much information, so he's so hard to talk to because he has a comeback for every single thing you say, and it's just really hard to talk to him about it. But as someone who wants to be a trans educator, as someone who wants to teach people and wants to go, you're a trans teenager and your parents really don't know what they're doing, but they want to help. So I want to be able to help teach them and you as the trans teenager. But really, I want to work with your parents because like my mom is that. She's pagan. She's not fundy at all. She's pagan, so that's questionable. But like she wants to learn. She's just sometimes really misinformed or uneducated. And when she gets corrected, that's okay. On the other hand, my grandparents are the exact opposite. If you correct them, you're wrong.
Yeah. And
I preach to people that it's not their job to teach their parents, because if that makes you miserable, just cut them off, especially if you're an adult. But I feel like it should be my job.
Yeah, I mean, I said this once like on Twitter, and it was like one of the most controversial things I ever put out there. But like, being old is not necessarily an excuse for not being willing to change your mind, right? Obviously, there's studies that show that as you're older, right, you're less likely to change your mind on things. But how much of that is cultural versus like biological, right? And I'm not talking about like obvious signs of cognitive declines, because some people, they are just set in their ways because of their lifestyle, where they're from, or, you know, just who they are. But how many accepting mothers, fathers, grandmas, and grandpas are out there who definitely grew up in a time where, you know, the issues we're talking about now are not as open and we're not as accepted today. And there's tons of them, and they weren't always like that. People do change their minds. And I think giving them those resources is probably a smart idea. You know, I do wonder if there's resources out there that already exist that you can kind of take, or maybe get in contact with some of those folks and see, hey, how are you doing this? Because I want to do this, because I imagine they probably want to spread that stuff out as much as you do. So they probably would be willing to give you that. So have you tried looking into any other organizations to see what they're doing to try to copy that model, or what's been your process there?
Yeah, or even see if there's somebody in your area who's already doing a great job of what you want to do. You know,
Yeah.
if you want to put up your own shingle because there's a need that you can fill, great. But I might encourage you to be looking around and seeing if there is perhaps another effort that you can join.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like mine is like a super far off goal, like way into the future.
Sure.
But like that's what I'm actually working on, like volunteering or working with one of the projects here in Denver that are specifically geared towards that. Mine is a little different, the idea that I have for mine, because like I'm a psychology major. I want to get a bunch of like volunteers that are like therapists and everything that want to do like work pro bono with specifically teenagers that would never have the money to do that otherwise. But for me, like talking specifically to my grandparents, I have no problem talking to other people's family. None. Yeah. Because I'm a complete third party. They don't know me. I mean, like they know me from maybe just meeting me, but people that I've known my whole life, it's like they automatically see like 12-year-old me.
Yeah, absolutely. They know your past. They know your experiences. They can judge you on a level that other people can't, right? Like, and it's hard to mitigate that. And I think there's value to having those services for people who are struggling with that with their own family, and you know, providing that work for them sounds like, I mean, what you're saying to me right now sounds like a great idea. I don't know how we can help you with that other than we encourage you to go seek out people who are already doing that kind of work and see what you can learn from them.
Mostly my question was like, if you have, I don't know, like, because what I've heard is like Anthony Bongabosco style, like approaching my grandparents with something specific. But I don't know if I should like bring someone else into that picture, because I'm trans. My older sister is in the queer community. My younger sister is. My mom is. There's so many people in my family that are. And yet they're all younger than my grandparents, so they don't give a shit. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if I can curse on your shit. They don't care what they say.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you want to approach it from a street epistemology, point of view, my recommendation, and maybe other people would disagree, but I actually think a one-on-one conversation is probably best in that case, because you just have more control of the flow of that conversation. And I don't mean to say you're trying to control their answers in that conversation, but just that you're able to keep on topic and really ask the questions that you want to ask with that other person. Because ultimately what it sounds like to me is you really want to challenge them about the beliefs that they have about trans people, or just about those kinds of issues in general, right? And there's no shame in really challenging somebody when you think that needs to be challenged. There's appropriate times to do that. I would say, let them know first that you're interested in challenging that, so that you're not taking them completely by surprise. But also, there's Pico coming in across the camera there. But like, if it is something that you feel like is out of your control, if you don't feel comfortable having that conversation yourself, maybe it would be a good idea to have somebody else there with you. But that's going to be based on your own level of comfort. If you feel like, no, I think I got this, then yeah, do it solo, because that way it's just you and them, and they may say something to you that they may not want to say to somebody else. But if you don't feel safe, then yeah, have somebody else with you.
I mean, I definitely feel safe because they have no power or control over me. They're sort of disowned me, but I know for a fact they'd still talk to me. So I don't even warn them, because I know for a fact if I go, hey, I want to talk, they'll know what it's about.
Well, yeah. I think that raises the question of why. Why have this conversation? And I'm sure that there are some very good reasons. Perhaps because you want to rebuild a connection. Perhaps because you want to correct a misconception. But I do wonder about the why, because if they are not likely to change their mind, how are you benefiting from it? And if they are likely to change their mind, then great. If they're not, but you still feel like it's your, constitutional duty or whatever else to correct this misconception, then I guess go for that too. But I guess I would really ask yourself, why are you doing this? And then try to figure out, how do I get the thing that I actually want?
The sad truth is,
if it was up to me, I'd just cut them off. I'm sorry.
Okay.
If it was up to me, I'd just cut them off. But like, my mom still wants to have that relationship with them, because like, my mom doesn't have anybody except for her kids and her parents.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's it. And so she wants to keep that relationship. So I want to be cordial, but I'm not going to let them go and just talk shit, because they will.
Yeah. I mean, having those boundaries to
I'm
protect
around.
yourself and protect other people, that's its own important and separate concern. You know, the amount of abuse that you're willing to put up with, the amount of shit that you're willing to eat, that's an important question. And if this conversation is about limiting that shit, then that gives you a different approach than if you are trying to change their mind. Those are not necessarily opposing goals, but they're different goals. And I think it's important to know what your goal is, because I guess I'm still hearing a little bit of, I don't know if indecision is the right term, but that's something I think is important to go into with a set intention.
I agree.
Right.
If you don't know what you're getting yourself into, if you don't know the reason why you're doing it, then they can say, hey, I feel like you're coming into this conversation to attack me. You have this agenda, whatever. And if you do have an agenda and you make that clear, like, yeah, actually, I disagree with you on this thing, but I want to have a relationship with you, and I think maybe I could change your mind. Well, that's different. Yeah. Like, hey, I just want to see if you've considered this point of view, because this is how I feel about it. If somebody said that to me, I'd be more than willing to talk to them about it, because it's like, yeah, show me something that I haven't heard before, but I'm also not your parents or your grandparents, so I don't know. Maybe they're different.
Yeah. They love to talk. They love to talk about like politics and social issues and everything, but only if you agree with them, obviously.
Of course.
So when I started getting interested in politics and social issues on the opposite side of the spectrum, they went, oh my God, the liberal media.
Right.
It kind of went downhill.
It's good, though, if you are keeping up that relationship with them, right, then there is actually a better chance that you would change their mind rather than some stranger that they don't know. Because, the fact that they do know you means that they do know your life experiences. And yeah, maybe that comes with some judgments, but that also comes with the idea of, if they respect you enough already, if they truly know you and they truly do want to know what you think about something, they might be more open to listening to that than like me or Christy, who are just, strangers on the internet.
Right.
I don't know. They believe some weird conspiracies from strangers on the internet.
Well, that's just 2020. I mean, I can't help you there, other than we need to continue having these conversations. And I don't believe in the idea of just giving up on people. I think I have seen it is, if people have given up on me, I wouldn't be here right now. And that's true for a lot of people.
Like why I don't want to give up on them.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe they could change. Maybe.
It's complicated. It's complicated because you have those familial ties, and you're in jeopardization of if you really think that you're in jeopardy of jeopardizing that relationship, I guess, then, consider your actions carefully. But otherwise, if you're their kid, if you're your family, then I guess it's worth a try, right? Because you're only going to be you. You're not going to. You right? Sound like you're probably not going to change, right? So maybe they might as well try to accept you.
Of my siblings.
Yeah. So why not give them a chance to accept you first?
Cut them off. They don't talk to them.
Yeah. Give them a chance.
I'm over here I don't want to cut them off, really.
Yeah. Give them a chance to hear what you really think. Give them a chance to figure out who you really are, and let's see if they want to have a relationship with that person. Because that's what's going to be best for you at the end.
Then it can be cut off.
If they don't, and you are financially independent and you can live your life happily, then you got to do what you got to do, right? But if you can have a relationship with them, then I say do it. But that's just me.
Definitely.
So I hope that was helpful.
Well,
Thanks
you
for calling in.
So much. Yeah. Actually, just talking things out helps a lot for me.
Yeah. That's why we're here.
Thank you.
No problem. You have a great rest of your night.